Is that the best that you can do? Living on wasted time. You don't got much time to lose. Living on and on and on and on. Do you really believe you are on the safe side? Living on wasted time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Living the Dream with Travis Barton. I, of course, am your host, Travis Barton. Sitting with me right here is rock star extraordinaire Marc Mawhinney, the guy who helps coaches get more clients without paid ads. And that simple thing right there, helping coaches get more clients without paid ads, is what attracted me to Marc in the first place when I first took his program about a year ago. And you'll have to excuse us right now. We just spent about 5 minutes, maybe a little more, talking, having a pretty good conversation so far. And I hadn't hit record. So.
The joys of podcasting. Yeah, well, actually, we gave the meaning of life, but we're not going to give that anymore.
You missed it. You guys missed it. So we're back at it. Only about 5 minutes, thankfully. So, Marc, we got into it. You're talking about getting clients without paid ads, and I was talking about how it seems like it's such a crazy concept for so many people, and it's just not. And yeah. Oh man, how do you really work with coaches in doing that? What's kind of the way that you do that?
Well, now you gotta laugh at the same lame jokes that I tell and just pretend you haven't heard them anymore. What was one of them? I said when I tell people that you can build a successful coaching business without paid ads, I might as well be telling them that I have a whistling unicorn in my garage. I think that was it. Yeah, because it sounds so crazy, right? Everyone's used to, you have to have the fancy funnels and thousands of dollars. But I built my business up 5 years ago, my coaching business up organically, because I was coming off a closure with my real estate business a few years before that. And I didn't have access to the capital, the money that I had previously in my real estate life. And looking back at it now, hindsight's 2020, but I actually see that as a positive what happened, because it really forced me to hone my message. I had to roll up my sleeves and make up for the lack of ads with the organic stuff. And I think I had a stronger message, a clearer idea of who I was helping, because I had to do that. And I think that one of the big issues nowadays is you see a lot of people starting coaching businesses. They have a severance package from a corporate job, or they've got a lot of money in savings or something like that, and they think they can waltz in and spend, I'll hire this guy, this ninja, whatever, for 25 grand, and then I'll throw a couple $1,000 a month towards ads here and everything, and it could get whittled away really quickly, right, if you're throwing money away like that. It can actually be a positive. I tell people, flip the script and say, hey, this is a good thing that I don't have a wad of cash starting, because it's going to force me to really hone my message.
Sure, yeah, and I think that's the key, is honing your message, getting clear on who your audience is. And I think the foundation of any successful business, especially a personal branded coaching business, is relationships, right? So it really requires you to kind of go in deep with those relationships and build these kind of long-term relationships in the beginning. Yeah,
exactly. And the other thing too, speaking with your own voice, I know that sounds cliche to hear, be you. Good examples. I'm working on, I say my first real book at the moment. I've have an ebook that's out on Kindle and stuff as well, but this is my first quote real book. And I just, for a while, I got quite a few words done, probably 20,000 words, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I was trying to think, gee, why is this not going as easy as the other stuff I do, with social media, with my print newsletter? My other content flows, and I'm not feeling this book. And what I realized was it wasn't in my actual voice. I think I was sanitizing it, and I was trying to be someone I wasn't. And normally I have no problem offending people. That's the funny thing with Facebook, podcasts, everything else. I've ruffled a few feathers, and with the book, it wasn't like that. So I said, you know what, screw it. I'm scrapping that book. I'm taking the filter off, just like everything else. And now it's flowing much better.
Yeah, well, if you're pissing people off a little bit, it means you're really speaking to the heartbeat of somebody else. And I feel like it's almost like we're almost kindred spirits in a way, because when I wrote my book, I'm dead serious here. It's so crazy. I wrote this book, and it was the first about 20,000 words. I wrote, I'm dead serious. I finished the first draft, and it was not me. It was just kind of mechanical, how to find your purpose and create a life doing it. And that's what it was.
Yeah,
And then I went back and added my spirit into it, my story and who I was. And I probably pissed some people off and, made some other people happy writing it. But it just, the energy in it was just incredible.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I have an identical twin brother, Matt. So maybe there's actually long lost, we're triplets. You're the third one. Now, you're younger than us, but, maybe something happened there, lost at birth or something.
I'm going to blow your mind, man. I have a twin brother as well.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Did we just become best friends, Mark?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's really freaky. And again, this could be before your time or people listening, but remember Unsolved Mysteries? You see like weird things happening with twins where they cross the country. One of them would get in a car accident. The other one all of a sudden have chest pains or whatever. Yeah. That's what I feel like. Yeah, it's really freaky. But and that's it. Just what you did with your book there, that you took the filter off and bang, let's go. And what I realized was I'm going to piss some people off with the book, because if I can really trigger someone in a 30-word or 50-word Facebook post, the chances of that not happening in a 30 or 40,000 word book are nil, right?
Absolutely.
So I might as well just go with it. And,
well, if you're doing it right?
Well, you should be like, and I'm not trying to knock people. Anyone who writes a book, kudos to you, because, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but there are a lot of bad books out there that are boring. And I read a ton, and I will read some great books, but some books I just stop reading after a few chapters. I'm like, this isn't working. I'm going to save my time and move on. The world has enough boring, especially self-help, personal development books. There's enough of them out there. Put your own spin on it and just take the filter off.
And I always say, if you're a coach, the best way to get clients that you love is to own your authenticity, own your magic, because there's a magic about you that you have that nobody else in the world has. And that's the magic that's going to sell. And for Mark, it's the language you use. And that's what I fell in love with, your style and your authentic postings on Facebook. And that's what attracted me to you. And that's the same, with my clients. And if you want to be successful, I think that's one of the first steps you got to take.
Yeah, and I mean, the way things are nowadays, this is so crazy. I've got to be careful. You're from California. I don't want to offend you, but I'm just kidding. I'm reading a book at the moment, actually listening to the audio book, and it's I Love Capitalism by Ken Langone, who's the guy that co-founded Home Depot. And I put up a post about it the other day, and there was that little split second in my mind where I thought it was almost like I was posting that, hey, Mein Kampf is a great book. You hear about this Adolf Hitler guy, because it's a book that says, I love capitalism. And of course, in today's politically charged culture, and you've got the Bernie Sanders people and the social democratic socialists and stuff, at first I thought, oh God, is someone going to get at me about this? I'm like, no, you know what? I'm a capitalist. I hope all coaches, if you have a business, are capitalists. I love capitalism as well, just like the author of that book, and I'm going to own it. So
yeah, awesome, man, awesome. I want to touch a little bit more on this. You mentioned that you have no problem offending people. There's a great Churchill quote, and you probably know it, that really that was my mantra in my beginning days of expressing myself as who I am online. And that was, if you have enemies, good. It means you've stood for something at some point in your life.
Yes, that is a great one.
Yeah. What do you feel, or what do you see? You've been doing this a long time. What do you feel is the biggest hurdle that most beginning coaches have in being successful? Because for a lot of coaches just starting out, they got this dream, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to make a lot of money, and they get started and they go, whoa, this isn't exactly as easy as I thought it was going to be. What do you feel like?
Well, I mean, you touched on a big part of it there, is that they don't understand that, hey, you actually have to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. It's not as simple as just slapping up a website and people are going to rush in to hire you and throw money at you. That's one of the advantages I had from spending my whole 20s, that whole decade building up my real estate business, was I knew what it took to get in the trenches, because that was a commission-based position. And then you had to, if you want to eat, you had to get out there and sell. I see a lot of similarities. It sounds funny to say that, between real estate and coaching, but when it comes to building the business, there are a lot of similarities. You can't be shy. You have to get out there. You have to deflect some arrows, especially online nowadays, when someone who's 1,000 miles away, keyboard warrior, can hop on and start criticizing you. So I think that's part of it, is that a lot of coaches don't realize, hey, you're actually a business owner, because it doesn't feel real, right? You might be working from your kitchen table. You got your kids' bowl of Cheerios next to you. You're wearing your pajama pants and slippers. It's not like you own an office on Main Street where you have the public walking in and it feels like a real business. And I think that's what separates the people who make it, people who don't. It's the ones who treat it like an actual business.
Yeah, give it the respect it deserves, right? And I think that's so important. You wake up, you kind of make a schedule, right? If you have to, right? Give it the respect it deserves. Treat it like a real business, right?
Well, full disclosure, as we're recording this, it's almost 9 p.m. in my neck of the woods in Canada, and I am wearing pajama pants, and I've got my Toronto Maple Leaf slippers as well. But it's an audio podcast, so I can do that. So I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm dressed like James Bond, every day.
Well, I'm certainly not, and that's I own that, man. I'm completely the same there. Marc, you work. I mean, you hustle at this stuff, right? From what I know about you, you seem to kind of wake up. It seems like you're waking up and then you're going to sleep, and it's business all day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm trying to work on that. So, and I'm not saying I'm alone, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with workaholism. I'm the opposite of a lot of people have to force themselves off the couch away from Netflix to go work on their whatever. I'm the opposite. I have to force myself away from the laptop to close the laptop and go watch Netflix and turn my brain off. Yeah.
I think that says something about you, that you love what you do. And it's clear through what you write and your message that you do love it.
Yeah, I'll never be a 4-hour work week guy. I'd go absolutely bonkers working just 4 hours a week. That being said, I don't want to be like Gary Vaynerchuk, who in Grant Cardone, where you got to work 120 or 130 hours a week. And if you're not making calls from the shower, you're a slacker. You're not hustling. You don't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like that either. I think there's that sweet spot, but I acknowledge that my sweet spot leans towards Gary Vaynerchuk more than Tim Ferriss.
Sure.
And it's interesting because with the online world and having an online business, and you know this, I'm sure, it has a way of seeping into all aspects of your life, because you got that darn smartphone, right? And it's so easy. I was playing Super Mario Party with my 10-year-old son.
Oh, how fun is the new Super Mario Party, by the way?
It is very fun. I love it. It's all for him. I didn't enjoy it. I just
sure.
We had fun doing it, but there's that darn phone. I had it flipped over. Even when it's in the same room, there's that little piece of you wondering, oh, gee, did somebody send me a message, or what about my emails or whatever? So I went and put it in the drawer in the kitchen. I said, I just want to focus on what's going on here. So yes, Mario Party's very good. He plays as Bowser Jr. and I'm Monty the Mole. Which I thought was appropriate because he has the same initials as me, MM, right?
Oh yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, me and my girlfriend and my brother and wife, we all play together. So it's like a bunch of 8-year-olds and 35-year-old bodies. But moments like that, I used to be that kind of sporadic through the day, and I kind of post sporadically. And I think once I started treating my business like a business and kind of scheduling my hours and content creation and answering emails, it was easier for me to kind of flip my phone over and not have to worry about it, because I always knew that, I'll get around to it tomorrow, and, it's going to wait.
One of my good friends, Dave Barnett, he's more of a consultant, but he helps people buy and sell businesses. But before he was doing his own thing, he was working for a business brokerage here in my home city. And when he first started working with them, they had just a few guys in the office, and they had wasn't an unwritten rule. It was a rule that every weekend a different person would get the office cell phone and would have to check in with messages and answer them and all that. And Dave said, I'm not doing that. And the guy that owned it said, well, you have to do that. And Dave said, well, why do I have to do that? If somebody calls at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, they can't wait till Monday morning. If it's Friday night at 9 o'clock or Saturday night or whatever. And Dave started doing it that way, where he put up boundaries. He thought, this is crazy for us to be on call 24/7 for something like this. And lo and behold, the world didn't end. The clients actually had more respect. The clients and prospects had more respect for them, because they weren't jumping like trained dogs or seals with it. So I am working on getting boundaries where I'm turning my phone off, not checking it for certain hours. This is going to sound funny. I'm trying not to check it very late as 9 p.m. at night until the next morning, 9 a.m., which is 12 hours. Now, other people will be, oh, gee, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. Like, ooh, you should get an award for that. But for me, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, good. That was the boundaries that I set, in my business, is I'll get to it when I get to it. And it is probably going to be tomorrow, and it can wait. And I think you mentioned that most people kind of have a respect for that. And I've certainly seen that, when I was so scatterbrained, I would try to answer emails right as soon as I got them. It's not doing anybody any favors,
No. And for me, unfortunately, what happened was, with so many years in real estate, that instilled some bad habits like workaholism, because in real estate, if there were 300 agents in my local marketplace, if I didn't answer the phone or get right back to somebody's call, they were going to go to one of the other 299 agents. Yeah. So it got really bad because I was suffering from phantom ringing. You know, when you think your phone's vibrating, it's really messed up when you think about it. There were days like on Christmas Day when I was in real estate, when I would get only like 1 or 2 calls, because of course it's Christmas Day, compared to hundreds of calls on a normal day. And I would be extremely fidgety, and I wouldn't be myself. It's like a junkie needing a fix or something, because you're used to your phone going all the time. Yeah, it's different with coaching. I don't talk a lot on the phone. I'm doing Skype calls and Zoom calls, but for me, it's more checking Facebook and Facebook messages and email and stuff. So one of my big things here in 2019, I got pretty good with it in 2018, is to cut down on the scrolling on the news feeds for Facebook, etc. Not reading those darn news feeds, which is food for your brain.
And you get caught in that wormhole and you could spend all day in there, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, the funniest, that's a story I tell because this illustrates it perfectly. One day I was had the laptop on the couch in the living room, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to throw a pizza in the oven. So I preheated the oven, and then when I put the pizza in, I set it to, I don't know, I think it was 18 minutes or something like that. I said, I'll go hop on the laptop for, and just get a few things done while I'm waiting for the pizza to finish. And I'm on the couch, and what felt like just 4 or 5 minutes later, it dings. The pizza's done. The timer's up. There must be a mistake. It hasn't been 18 minutes. It's been like 3 or 4 minutes. I went out, and sure enough, it had been 18 minutes. It was like lost time. When people say they get abducted by aliens and they can't remember the last 12 hours. Or like fire in the sky stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what it was like.
I mean, that's scary, man. That's like I saw the complete juxtaposition of it a couple days ago, actually. So I spent 20 minutes meditating. So I sat there for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes meditating it takes a while to go through, right? I mean, because you're sitting there doing nothing but breathing, right?
Yeah.
So I got out of my meditation, pulled out my phone, and I said, all right, I'm going to go build relationships for 20 minutes. Online, right? And that 20 minutes, Mark, went by so fast. You have it's just like I was in this rabbit hole. I'm going, there's no way that this 20 minutes went by, because the juxtaposition and the contrast between those 20 minutes were wildly different.
Oh, I know. And what always irks me, I just had a few of these today. Not that they meant any harm by it, but you get people on Facebook who will message you with, "Hey, Travis," or "How's it going, Travis?" instead of actually saying what they want. Or, "Can I ask you a question?" And instead of then asking the question, they're waiting for you to say yes, sure, and ask me the question. Yeah. And I'm not answering everybody who messages me, and it's not me being a dink or whatever, but part of it, I'm hoping they learn a lesson that I've talked about this before in the Facebook group and everything else, is when you reach out to a person, especially a busy person, have a reason for why you're reaching out to them. I don't mind if someone reached out and said, "Hey, Mark, would you be interested in doing this?" or whatever, or they give that question, but to just say, "Hey, Mark," or "What's up?" or something, it's like, come on,
Yeah, hi. Right, and then I love when you get 7 highs in a row because you didn't respond to the first one. Like, if I didn't respond to the 6th one,
or poking, which really creeps me out when some dude pokes me on Facebook or waves.
Is that still a thing? I didn't know that was still a thing. Poking.
Yeah, I've gotten poked a few times, or it's like the scammy, Playboy models. They look like they're clearly fakes. They have 12 friends. They're all 12 middle-aged horny men. That's only 12 friends. And they're sending you friend requests and poking you and stuff.
Yeah, I've always wondered who adds these people and who actually goes to the link in the hey, check out my sexy vids. Who clicks on those? I go, yeah, she's invited me to.
You think the spidey senses would be tingling? So I think we have to deal with those as men. And from what I've heard from my female clients is that women on Facebook, obviously I have to deal with the creepy guys and stuff, but it seems like big scams, the veteran who's trying to hit up the girl for money, the woman for money or whatever. It seems like they deal with fake veterans, and we deal with fake supermodels.
Yeah, it's always something new. Where do you feel most inspired in your business? What's your zone of genius, do you feel?
Zone of genius. Well, this is one of them. I really enjoy podcasting. I've done my show, which you've been on, I think. Have you?
Yeah.
If not, we got to get you on there. My podcasting, but I enjoy my show, but also going out on other shows like this For me, this doesn't feel like work. So some people be
right.
like, oh my God, you're working at 9 p.m. at night, Mark. Like, what the heck? Well, no, it's not like Travis and I are poring over the last quarter's spreadsheets for some sort of,
Yeah, it's fun.
Or something. It doesn't feel like work. Or I'm not chopping trees in the middle of the woods and, like breaking my back doing stuff like that. So I would say that, but also the bigger picture would be the whole getting the message out there, content creation and stuff. I absolutely love writing, especially the videos and stuff, but writing's big. I've been doing daily emails now for a couple of years, and I will continue doing those. And I love doing things like that and getting the message out there. So that's my zone of genius I would say is that.
Yeah. What do you believe is the key? I know there's not one key. All right. If there was a secret sauce to success in the coaching industry, what do you think that might be?
Well, I'm looking at it right now because I got a tape right in front of me in my office. It's a quote, Bob Burg, who wrote the book, The Go-Giver. He wrote also Endless Referrals and some great books. Bob Burg was on my podcast, and he said something that stuck with me years later. He said, money is an echo of value. So what he's saying is if you put enough value out there, it'll be reflected in your bank account or in your wallet. Now, if your bank account's not where you want it to be, it means that you haven't put enough value out there. Doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but you need to make sure that you're putting enough value out there. Because again, this goes back to capitalism, which we were talking about. Is in a capitalistic society, if you're providing value, then the marketplace will reward you. And that's what a lot of coaches miss. So what they do is they vomit up motivational quotes from Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Les Brown. And don't get me wrong, I love motivational quotes, but if all you're doing is putting motivational quotes on your social media feeds, like I see your stuff, Facebook's always showing me your stuff because you're consistent with your message and you're actually putting out unique content that's in your voice. Now, if you were just constantly sharing Jim Rohn quotes and Napoleon Hill and stuff like that, I wouldn't be as interested because I've read all those, a lot of times. So I do something I call it the last 10 test. And what the last 10 test is, you look at the last 10 posts on whatever your social media platform is, we'll say Facebook. Out of those 10 posts, at least 8 should be in your own voice. Yeah. It's okay to have a couple that could be a Gary Vaynerchuk share of a video or, like I said, a Jim Rohn or Les Brown quote, but the majority of them should be your actual voice. People want to hear from you. They don't just want regurgitated motivational quotes. You could go to Google and get 2.2 trillion motivational quotes in half a second doing a Google search. That's not giving the value that Bob Burg was talking about. Yeah,
and this comes full circle to being who you are, right? Expressing the magic that you have. Right, so others can see that in you. And I just wrote that down, actually. Money is an echo of value. I might put that on a Post-it note.
Yeah, I should have taken credit for it. I should say this is something that hit me one night at 3 o'clock in the morning. I popped up and it just hit me like a bolt of lightning. I thought, money is an echo of value. My luck, Bob Burg's listening to this episode.
You should have just regurgitated it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I won't say names. I've seen someone on my Facebook who she shares quotes, but she makes it sound like they're from her when clearly they aren't. So like you'll see her put up a post on her Facebook, like whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. And all these people who don't know that came from, W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill are like, oh my God, that's so insightful. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so smart, girly, and all this stuff. I'm thinking, no, man, that, came from W. Clement Stone or there's something from like Tony Robbins, but she doesn't credit it. And I'm thinking, oh man, that highlights the problem with the coaching industry. They have so many fakes and phonies. Right. And then people get burnt by it, and then they think all coaches are fake and phony and can't deliver. And then people like you and me get lumped in with them.
Yeah. It definitely helps us stand out, doesn't it? Right.
Well, it does. And speaking your own voice, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb. It stick out like a sore thumb if you do that, because so few people are doing that. They're hanging around what I call the mushy middle, where they're so deathly afraid of offending anyone. They're kind of like a friend of mine. He's one of my best friends. He's not a coach. He's a lawyer actually, but he's still my friend. But he's a great guy. But I get at him because he'll post something on Facebook, and if he gets any blowback from anyone, he gets editing his post and tweaking it and all this stuff. And I said, you don't have to edit your post because one person that lives like in another country disagrees with you. That's your Facebook, right? You don't have to keep everybody happy. Like it's like we're a village that has to keep everyone happy in this village. And that's how I don't want to be. So I've had people get angry at me for some of the silliest things or whatever. That's their problem. I've said to them before, hey, if this offends you, just please unfriend me. Because I wasn't trying to offend. I could do a lot better if I was trying to offend. I would like to. Well, you'd mentioned Winston Churchill earlier, and it's funny you mentioned the Churchill quote, because edit this out if you want. I don't want to get you in trouble, Travis. But,
I'm not going to be people-pleasing people, so no worries.
Good
this will not go. Edit it out.
Well, I posted a meme in my Facebook group before, and it was a play on Winston Churchill has a quote where he said, a good speech should be like a woman's skirt, long enough to cover the subject and short enough to create interest or whatever.
I saw that. The shitstorm you got was
oh my God. Well, I posted it about sales copy because it was a play on that. It's a good sales copy should be like a woman's skirt, but it wasn't like. Anyways, that you would swear that was the worst thing in the world, and I said that to people. I said a lot of people laughed about it, and they got the point. But there's probably 15 or 20 people left the group. I said, if this offends you, please just leave, because they're all like, do you want to be on the wrong side of history, Mark, and all this other stuff. And I'm just thinking, come on, like that. And I did it once where I put a poll up where I said, who would you rather be mentored by, Gary Vaynerchuk or Tim Ferriss? That's a pretty non-controversial question. You got, like we talked about earlier, two guys with opposing points of view with business and work, how much you should work and all that. Same thing. Mark, that's sexist. There's no female choice. You need to have a woman in there. You can't have two guys. I'm like, give me a break. So it's impossible to not offend people nowadays. There are a lot of friggin' nuts on social media. I mean, there's no other way around it. And you'll drive yourself crazy if you're trying to keep them all happy.
Well, I'd have you consider that if you're not ruffling up some feathers, then you're probably not speaking to your heartbeat. You're not expressing your authentic self.
Well, Richard Nixon, I mean, I know he had his flaws and the whole Watergate thing and stuff, but Richard Nixon had a great point where he said the only thing worse than being wrong is being boring. And I think that's a really bad sin. If you have an online coaching business and you're boring, good luck. You're not going to stand out.
I'm writing that one down too.
Yeah, good old tricky Dick. Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of Post-it notes going up on my wall.
I am not a crook.
Yeah. All right. If you can have, this is a bit more of a personal question. If you can have dinner with one person, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would it be?
Richard Nixon. No,
Richard Nixon.
It wouldn't be Richard Nixon, although he's a very smart guy. But I've been asked this before, and one of them would be Napoleon Hill, of course, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason why is I've had debates with friends about that book. He talks about the secret that he put in that book, but he said, I'm not going to tell you what the secret is because it doesn't work as well if I come out and say it. And I've had really good debates with coaches and online entrepreneurs and people who've read that book. I would like to sit down with Napoleon and just say, what the heck is that secret? Can you just please tell me, so then I can end any debate with anyone about what the secret is? So that would be one of them. And then the king, Elvis, you'd have to have lunch or dinner with the king. So I'd say Elvis would be the other one.
What's the secret in Think and Grow Rich, do you think?
Oh, boys. This is one of those things it's kind of like asking a question. If I said, hey, Travis, can you define color for me?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
The way that I put it is to paraphrase would be essentially your thoughts create your results. And I know that that's not a terribly original idea or anything, but I think that's what it's saying. Of course, it's right in the title, Think and Grow Rich, is that it's whatever you're thinking is going to show up in the outer world. Did you ever hear the story what the first original title is going to be for that book?
No.
This is funny. The story has it, legend has it, and Napoleon Hill's told this, so I believe it. He was having trouble coming up with the title for Think and Grow Rich, and his publisher was getting so frustrated, he said, if you don't give us a title by tomorrow morning, we're going to call your book Use Your Noodle and Get the Boodle. Because I guess boodle is 1930s slang for money. So use your noodle and get the boodle. And Napoleon Hill's like, oh my God, I'm going to be ruined. And he went to sleep that night. He basically told his subconscious, get me a title because I don't want to be ruined with this cheesy other title. And he popped up in the middle of the night with Think and Grow Rich, and he called his publisher overnight and said, here's the title. And the publisher loved it, and the rest is history. Of course, one of the most successful books of all time. It's kind of like, I don't know, the Bible may have, and some others have sold more, but that's definitely up there. So It was originally going to be Use Your Noodle and Get the Boodle, and I don't think we'd be talking about it now if that was the
Absolutely not. And this is a book that I say should be taught in schools. It's every entrepreneur
Yep.
should read this book. And a lot of new entrepreneurs, they kind of, it was written like 100 years ago. What the hell do I want to read that for? The wisdom in that book is timeless. It's timeless.
It is,
I've read that countless times, and I absolutely adore that book.
And how many books have been based off of it? I mean, his estate should be getting royalties from the amount of books that are just rehashed versions of Think and Grow Rich, essentially. And the one thing I wish that there was out there, which isn't really out there, there's not a warts and all look at Napoleon Hill's life, because he was a man like all of us. He was flawed, and he had some issues, and there were definitely some things in there. And other than an article that I read, I forget which magazine was in, that was kind of showing some of those warts, you don't see it anywhere out there. And that's the only thing I find with Napoleon Hill. I love his books and stuff. I would love to know more about the man, right? That's in there. Like, I read a book about Dale Carnegie, talking about, it was on Carnegie, not just talking about his ideas, but the man. I wish I had that for Napoleon Hill as well.
Yeah. Wow. So my next question, I think you probably answered, is what book should every coach read? Is that Think and Grow Rich, or do you think there's something else out there?
Well, the one I recommend would be A Thick Face, Black Heart, which not a lot of people have actually heard of. You've probably heard me talk about it. I may have mentioned it on our calls, but yeah, Thick Face, Black Heart is one that I recommend by Chin-Ning Chu. Okay. And that's an incredible book. It was written, I think, the early 90s. She's passed away, unfortunately. But that should be required reading, especially for people who want to get a thicker skin, like we talked about with the slings and arrows and everything that you have an online business. That book will help you get a thicker skin.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to check that out. I got another one of dozens to add to my Amazon cards. So thanks for that. I got a stack of books I want to read, and it's just, I feel like it's never.
What I've been doing, my goal is to read 100 books this year, and I'm not going to be able to do it if it's hard copy, but I'm a big Audible guy with audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I listen at 2x speed, which a past client of mine recommended that to me. And I said, oh my God, 2x speed's going to sound like the Chipmunks. And it was a little weird for the first few minutes listening to a book that way. Now I can't listen at normal speed. Anything slower than 2x sounds like, remember the old tape recorders that were running low on batteries and the voice was stretched out? That's what it feels like.
Sure.
So that's how I read so much. It's a lot of it's audio books, and it's at 2x.
Yeah, I did 1 year. This was years ago. I did 70 books. I wanted to read 70 books, and it was actually way easier than I thought it was going to be. People hear 70 books and go, that's nuts. But what I did was I read a book a week, and I would listen to an Audible for every 2 weeks. So at the same time. So that's how I did that.
Yeah, and I know some people say it's not about the number of books. So usually I'm reading 50 a year, 60 a year anyway. So it's not like I read no books and also I'm going to 100. What's going to hurt me this year, I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo, which is 1,300 and some pages. That's going to hurt my average, but that's fine. I'm reading the hard copy, but I'm reading that because I want some fiction. Sure. And there's a book actually for entrepreneurs, and I'll have to give credit to Ben Settle for this, because this is where I first heard it from and why I got onto this book. But that book's great for teaching patience, because the whole plot is about a guy that was wrongly imprisoned and for many, many years basically plotted his revenge and had to dig his way out of this prison and finally got his revenge. But for any of us who struggle with patience, which I do, I'm not the most patient guy in the world, I'm working on it. That's a great book for it, The Count of Monte Cristo. If you want something that's fiction. That's
been one of my intentions the last few years, actually. Because of that 70 book year, I kind of realized I didn't metabolize a lot of that information, right? Because I read so much. I didn't go really deep in anything. I didn't have time. So ever since I started slowing down, and I'll read like one personal development book for every, 3 fictions that I read, or something for fun, right? It's really helped me slow down and metabolize some of the insights and wisdom that I've gotten out of these good books.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. The other thing I've been doing starting this year is a 5 a.m. club. So I used to wake up 6 o'clock, 6:30 or so, but it wasn't a huge stretch to go to 5 a.m., but it was still a little bit of a challenge. But that's been working out well, and that gives me more reading time in the mornings, because that's how I start my day. I want to read. I'm not a meditator like you, so I like reading, and that's how I'm reading more books as well.
Yeah, cool. So what's next for you, man? What do you got going on? What's coming up in 2019?
Oh, boys. Well, like I mentioned, I'm working on the book I'm writing. The other thing the last year, been doing more speaking gigs, and I really want to do more of those as well and get out there. I've been to some cool events, and I'd like to do more of them. So I'd like to do more speaking, get the message out there to people who otherwise may not have heard that message. So.
Awesome. And where can my audience find you?
Naturalborncoaches.com is the main site. There's also the Facebook group, The Coaching Jungle. So if you go to thecoachingjungle.com, I am in there every day and lots of cool people, thecoachingjungle.com.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in there in that group as well. Awesome group. And then Mark, you also got a daily newsletter that you send out as well. So I recommend everybody go out and sign up for that. It's really cool. Awesome. Mark, thanks so much for being on, man. It's always a blast hanging out with you. When I'm up near you next time, we're going to go out and have a beer or two.
Yeah, let me know once you're up in the Great White North.
Absolutely. Maybe not in the winter, but maybe in the summer at some point. We'll talk about it.
Yes, sounds good.
All right, man. Much love.
Hey guys, it's me, Travis Barton. If you want to learn more about living the dream with Travis Barton, visit us at speakingtotheheart.org and at iTunes.
Do you really believe you are